IVM.
कृपया ध्यान दीजिए, the language used on the podcast may not be fit for consumption. We warn you, tread carefully. But listen yaar, don't be so conservative. Yes, the show is called Cyrus Says. My esteemed guest, he'll be on in a few seconds, but first I want to confess something. I think we should make this Tuesday confessionals, where you have to confess the truth, and maybe people who on the AMAs can also confess something that they've done, which is a little strange. But I have gone a record 103 days without cleaning the mask. I wear the same one, the cheap 4 rupee one, and I haven't washed it. And I have to tell you, it's got all the stains of all the places I've been to, and all kinds of the stories that mask could tell, ladies and gentlemen. I'm calling it Behind the Mask. It'll be a new edition which will come out day after tomorrow. But for now, please wear the mask and be safe, even though I don't believe in it. That's what people are saying, so let's just accept it. That's the way it is. We don't have a choice. We don't want to be fined by the government or sent to another state, or from there we move towards Bangladesh, and then from there go to Poland in the winter. I mean, the world will end for you. So just wear the mask. Having said that, you don't have to wash it yet. The washing is overrated.
Working Monday to Friday glued to your chair making you feel dull? Worry not. Get your 5-minute weekly dose of travel around the world with Postcards from Nowhere. Join me every Thursday as I explore the strange, obscure, and fascinating parts of the world and bring out facets of travel you may not have thought of before. You can find us on the IVM Podcast app, website, or wherever you get your podcast from.
Let's introduce our guest. Devdutt Pattanaik, the legend, is here. A man who charges just to discuss mythology with you on a plane 4 lakhs. I mean, just to say, bro, just tell me this Ram, Lakshman, and the girl's name is Sita. Just for that, I had to pay 4 lakhs. That's how big he is right now. No, but jokes apart, I think Devdutt has now created a niche separate from anybody else. There are a few trying to follow him, but there's only one original, where he can take you from a corporate position to a mythological position and draw parallels, analogies, and metaphors for the betterment of society. So he's the rare Indian who uses mythology, Hinduism, if you like, religions of all kinds, to bring peace, to find love and hope. Very rare, very odd thing. I don't know why he's doing that. You've got a powerful tool like religion. You must use it to exercise power, young man. But we'll find out all about that. Devdutt, welcome to the show. Your biography, I've got it here, is too long. It'll take me years to read. So, and we have to discuss you as a person, which is more important because they can Google all the references here. But let's start with this. You're also a doctor. People don't know that. You're a trained medical professional. So this will be a great year for you. You can actually do a show and help the people dying at the same time.
No, I did my medicine in Grand Medical College, JJ, about long time ago, long time. And but I didn't practice. I was in the pharma.
No, Devdutt, I've got news for you, because Google can't be wrong. It says that you actually spent as many as 15 years in the healthcare and pharma business. You're a proper medical practitioner.
Yeah. I worked in the hospital business and I worked in the pharma business. So not actually treating patients, but working in the medical, all the medicines that we take at the hospitals. So I worked in the industry, but not as a clinician. I was not a clinician.
But that means today, if you were working 15 years ago, work was now, you'd be actually working on the vaccine.
I could be working on marketing the vaccine, selling the vaccine, training the vaccine, but not actually creating the vaccine or giving those jabs.
Yeah, you just don't want to make sure there's no legal issues later, so that you're not responsible for the vaccine when the side effects start in 2024. When men develop the fourth nipple and things like that. Oh, it's going to happen. It's going to be fun. Okay, so we'll start right there. But so you were very much entrenched in the workspace in healthcare, because 15 years is a long time. Obviously, we'll understand that there's a side of you that loves mythology and all, but it was not a professional side. You were just enjoying it, and you got a learned mind, etc., etc. So how did the thing happen where the guy who's working in a proper business in healthcare would suddenly turn profession? At what age was it?
So around 38, 40, I turned.
Wow. That at that age, all Bollywood actresses are finished, and you started a second avatar. Wow, fantastic. So let me I'm asking all the wrong questions. I'm an idiot. But if you go back a little bit, when did you just give us an idea of how you knew you could do something with this other side to you, which was by and large like well, not a professional side in the sense that you weren't earning money through it, but you were a person interested in the subject.
So I was interested in the subject, yes. And initially, when I wrote my first book, I thought it will sell millions of copies and I won't have to work for the rest of my life. Then, of course, it only sold 200 copies, and the rude realization came that it doesn't happen like that. And I realized, the world was very difficult. People say they are interested in the subject, but nobody really goes to a bookshop and buys books.
Is it like the way sorry? Is it like the way they talk about National Geographic, but they all want to show that they have interest in nature and environment and all these causes, but actually don't really watch anything? So it's similar.
Yeah, because they have all these exotic ideas, and when you tell them, but this is not there in any book. Like for example, Ram having a six-pack ab or a Shiva having a six-pack ab. I said, I have never seen this anywhere, read anywhere. Even Ganesh now has a six-pack ab. Very clearly it is told that he has a big tummy. He has to be round and fat. But even he has become a six-pack ab guy now, which is so sad. So what happened?
Look at our rants. Your rant today is about mythology and six-pack abs, having no reference there, and people hijacking it and saying all the gods have these perfect bodies. My rant, of course, is about the mask should never be cleaned. I'm just trying to show who's going to listen to this podcast. All right. Sorry. So you were saying, so all these myths about myths. What an irony that is.
So I was reading up, and I was actually reading the subject. And then over time, it was something that I loved to do in my weekends. And I would share it with my friends who loved it. And then it just so happened that Economic Times wanted a column in their corporate. I was just talking in a friend's house about how it is connected to management, how everything is read mythology. And he liked the idea, so I wanted to write a few columns for me. And that was supposed to be only 6 columns in about 20 years ago. But it became such a hit that it's even now it's continuing in a way. So it's over 20 years.
What was the first column? The very first thing you wrote?
I wrote something in my first column.
In Economic Times. Huh.
Well, my first column was related to the loks, the various jo Devlok hota hai. There is Devlok, there is Asurlok.
Oh, the
so
loks,
I was comparing that with business and life, how you have the boss's cabin upstairs, and then there are the workers downstairs, and and really the
hierarchy, basically.
Hierarchy of society. So South Bombay, North Bombay, Mumbai.
Give us the Bombay hierarchy quickly, now that you mentioned it. Who's the apex?
I don't know which direction is Devlok actually. Whether
it doesn't matter. You'll be stuck in traffic or potholes or work or infrastructure repair work. So don't worry. It doesn't really matter.
That Bombay makes everybody equal that way.
Leveling factor.
The pothole doesn't.
Really. And whether you're a god or not, it doesn't matter. You still are stuck in traffic. Yeah. But did you realize that when you wrote that first column, it's such a great concept in terms of corporate culture, which of course you got to exploit later, but I'm saying you mustn't have known. You just wrote this as a idea about how you marry corporate with mythology. But did you have any idea at that point that it will roll out to be this huge juggernaut?
I was starting to see the pattern. See, initially I thought mythology has nothing to do with day-to-day life. It was just something to enjoy. I used to enjoy it as something nothing to do with life. But the deeper I went into it, it was very strange. As the deeper I went, I realized I was talking about my life, my issues. Then I would share it with my friends. They would say, hey, these are my issues. These are my problems. And then I realized that I was solving day-to-day issues and helping people. I would always give examples from mythologies, which people found very exciting. And I just turned that into articles. So basically, everything that I saw in the scriptures, I realized was helping my life. I was getting a better person. I was becoming better at work. And I was just sharing. So whatever I write is basically my personal experience. I realize when you read the Vedas, when people keep saying, oh my God, Veda is so complicated. It's not complicated. It is talking about gods who are hungry. They want something and they will not give you something unless you give them something. And then you realize that's like any trade and business, right? Nobody's going to give you something if you don't give them something back.
No free lunch.
And no free lunch. There is no such thing. They'll keep saying that, when you go to the temple, they'll say, nahi, kuch haath mein leke jana chahiye. You should take something to the temple. Why do you take something to your temple? Because there is this notion of give and take.
Give and take.
And this is something that is very fundamental. But when people say yajna, everybody wants things to be exotic. I think all these gurujis also love to make it all magical and mystical. It's not magical and mystical. It's just day-to-day life. And that's what I do. I bring it down to basics. I'm not interested in the exotic muscle people and all those people wearing those fancy clothes. That's packaging. That's
So what you're
packaging.
saying is that people are looking less at the philosophy and what is inside and more the outside, the shell. More interested in the look and the hair length and the abs and this and that and fighting over that.
Which is what life is, right? We always, people get fascinated by good looking people or something, and really what matters is, do you connect with that person? Is he a nice person? A good looking person can be a nice person, can be a nasty person. A ugly person can be a nice person, can be a nasty person. What you really need is nice people around you, and it is nice if they're good looking. It is an added bonus to have someone good looking and healthy around you. But nice people are nice people, and you want nice people around you, and exactly same thing applies to gods and goddesses.
It upsets me a little bit, Devdutt, because you're against shallow philosophies and I'm all for shallow philosophies. I don't know why you people come here with your beautifully constructed, honest humanitarian thought and spoil what is a really low hanging fruit as far as the podcast should be. You didn't tell us one thing though. How did Devdutt Patnaik, I mean, look at the Bachpan ka situation or whatever. How did you know all this? Because obviously there's something in the background, the family.
No, my family didn't feel this was funny at all. They said you're, typical, like, तुमने पढ़ाई की, अभी job करो. And can you imagine if someone who studied medicine, and I even gave my UPSC exams and got through, and I said, no, I don't want to do this. And my parents are like, what are you going to do? Ramayana, Mahabharata? Are you mad? So someone in Chembur, and you're like, I'm reading Ramayana, Mahabharata. On the other side, there is medical textbooks, Grey's Anatomy and all that. And they're like, what's wrong with you? Like, this is not normal. But then, I have never been that way. I don't like
the word normal. Yeah, it's overrated. I agree with you. But what I was actually trying to ask is, how did you get the knowledge? Or rather, what was the influences in your childhood and all that allowed you to have this? Because it was already there, organically speaking, you seem to have already had it on that before you became a writer, etc., etc.
Honestly, I realized it later. See, now, in hindsight, I realized that I'm a pattern thinker and I like to see patterns in everything. And that's what I do when I read a book, when I read a novel, even in my work. When I was good at my work, I would do, like, I entered management without any MBA, but I was good at it. I was good in business. I was good in I would immediately understand what the CEO wants, and I would understand, acha, he doesn't want obedience. He just wants you to lick his ass and then you'll get ahead. So I knew exactly how to get ahead. So I knew that he doesn't care what the results are. So I realized people are complicated, and जो theory होता है वो reality नहीं होता है. There is a big difference between theory and practice. People speeches what they give, and I would like because you're so that pattern thinking is very natural to me. And now I realize that I quickly figure out structures, and I do. At that time I was doing it intuitively. Nobody told me these words like structure. But I would just know it. Like, nahi, Ramayana mein ye problem hai, Mahabharata mein ye problem hai. The Bible is like that, and that is why Bible cannot be compared with Ramayana and Mahabharata because of these differences. And people would look at me as if I'm talking some strange language. So I said,
yeah, that could be controversial, but I know what you're saying. All you're doing is pointing out that different ways, and this is what the two books are saying or whatever. You're not making a judgment call per se. But people do. They misinterpret. They always want some sort of judgment. Also, what you're saying is that you basically, stoking the ego is more important. That's marketing. It's called the ego of the person above you in the hierarchy. That's 80% of the job. It's got nothing to do with actual market dynamics.
Yeah, see, I have a famous line when I give lectures, ki brand ka matlab kya hai? I like to give lectures in Hindi because it connects with the masses. And I say, brand ka matlab kya hai? And I say, औकात ही है ना. तो तुम Rolls Royce या Mercedes खरीदते हो not because you can buy a small car which will take you in better in the small gullies of Bombay, but you will take a big car because तुम्हारी औकात ना, you want to show yourself, and that immediately the audience gets. ऐसे औकात होती है ना, मेरा गणपति तुमसे गणपति से बड़ा है, मेरा taller, bigger, fatter, all these.
Yeah, why?
And basically it is तुम्हारी औकात.
That's correct. Why do they have to fight with the Ganesh size? What's the deal with that?
So it is, our yearning to be dominating. It's an animal instinct. See, you'll see animals. No, animals are innocent, right? Humans are not innocent, but animals are innocent, and they have a hierarchy. They'll be a big
alpha, yeah.
Dog. So humans humans are stupid. We still want to be like animals, and we still want to be alpha, which is very foolish. I mean, you're not an animal. वो हो गया तेरा, वो जन्म हो गया. Can you move on? But 99% of people cannot move on. We like being alpha. And honestly, it feels good. It feels good when people obey you. You love to be the master, dominating. It feels very good.
I hate it. But so you're, without being cynical, Devdutt Patnaik doesn't have a very great view about mankind in terms of the way we conduct ourselves.
Well, human beings, it's a struggle. Mankind is about getting rid of your animal side. And we are all struggling. It's not that nobody struggles. The question is, are you struggling?
I'm not criticizing. I'm with you. I'm totally with you. I also don't like human beings. I think you're right. It's a flawed
No, I
concept.
don't hate or like. I have no views that way. I would like people around me not to be animals.
I think Devdutt's lawyer has told him very clearly that at all points just stay in the middle, because we're living in very strange times. In fact, before I just get into all the things you've done, I read your columns a lot. I'm sure many people listening, most people are fans of yours, because, you sort of tell it like it is. You call out things. It's not like it's always going to be one dimensional. The perspective is the way it is. So, but that is dangerous, because there are certain ordained principles in our thinking from childhood, and you question a lot of them, including the sexuality of gods, and I'm just thinking, what guts? It's really nice that you're like a breath of fresh air, but is it a problem with, let's say, powers that be?
Powers that be come
As you got popular?
Every power and be come and goes. Na? Like 10 years ago, there were people who were very powerful. Today, nobody remembers them. Once upon a time in Bollywood, Rajesh Khanna was the greatest god on earth. Everybody adored him. He died unknown. Nobody remembers.
Yeah.
Sad.
Letters in blood, love letters in blood to him and all.
Yeah, so that is today people are writing love letters to other people. Yeah, aate hain, jate hain. कोई बड़ी बात, nobody is permanent in this world, and I think that is a reminder for me. And I don't call out things for being provocative or to tantalize people. I'm like, देखो ऐसा है, and I'm giving the logic for it. And of course there's a risk, but if in life, if you don't take risks, if I didn't take risks, I wouldn't be where I am. So you take calculated risks. It is like you enter a cage where there's a tiger. And how do you deal with it? You have to manage the tiger carefully.
What kind of example is that? What kind of joker says, Chalo, I'll go into the cage where the tiger is and hang out for 5 minutes?
Have you met rich and powerful people? Most of them I have met behave like wild dogs who need rabies vaccine.
Wow. Oof.
Yeah, because half the time you're afraid if I say something, they'll get upset and they'll throw you out of their house. They'll put you in jail. They do an IT raid. So that is like dealing with a mad dog, right? You're like, oh my God, pata nahi kab mere upar kood padega. And remember, we are always, when we're writing a tweet or something, we keep saying freedom of expression, but actually we're dealing with mad dogs waiting to pounce on you. And that is the life we have now told that, yahan pe sab jagah rabid dogs hai. So I remind myself, whenever I go to some very rich, famous, powerful person, kitna security guards hai. That means he must be such a horrible person that people want to kill him.
Yeah. I agree with you totally. I wish you wouldn't attack my poor dogs in your references, but other than that, I agree with you totally. Yeah.
No, see, the dogs are innocent.
Yeah.
They behave because that is the only choice they have. Humans have other choices. You don't have to behave like a kutta. The kutta has no choice. That is the way it is. You can be a nice, orangutan. You can be a lovely goose. You can be a peacock. You can be a wolf. You can be a termite.
I just have to announce that Devdutt Patnaik is now a naturologist, zoologist. We've switched from, but I want to ask you, because you were exactly what you're saying. See, some of your stuff can be seen to be very pro-Hindu. And then you have these guys saying, oh, Devdutt Patnaik apna aadmi hai. He's talking about Hindu culture, Hindutva, this and the other. And suddenly you're given a symbol and now they give you the flag to carry. That's one problem, because I know that's not you. Then the other part is that you've taken a stance, you're opening flexible thoughts about certain great institutions in religion, and whether it's the Puranas, Vedas, whatever. Then you're looked as anti, because so, I mean, how do you, because you're neither. You're just always like a scholar looking at things which people like, I hope a lot of people do understand and enjoy about you, because you make us see it that way as well. But how do you deal with people who will suddenly say, he's our guy, or he's destroying our culture, because you're getting both?
See, we have to live with stupidity. No?
That's the podcast.
We have to be kind to stupid people and be a little careful of them. Kind because they need to become smart, and careful because in stupidity they can do stupid things. And so we have to live with that society. It's like walking in a jungle. You'll see me, the reason I give animal references and plant references is because even the gods take the form of animals and plants, right? You will see Ganesha having an elephant head. Why are they saying? They're trying to remind us of those animal things. Shiva is riding a bull, Devi is riding a lion. Why are they constantly talking about plants? Bargat ka ped, this plant? Because they're trying to say, if you understand plants, you understand animals, you understand your humanity. And I am trying to be human. I don't want to be on anybody's side, or I want to carry a jhanda. Why do you want to carry a jhanda? And if I would carry a rainbow flag. I'm perfectly fine because all colors are in it. I don't want to carry one color, orange or blue or purple. It doesn't matter. I like all colors. Depending on the mood, you have different colors and you choose different colors. So you have to deal with the fact that we are walking in a forest. And I think life is, you're dealing with friendly animals, hostile animals, animals which want to eat you, animals that are afraid of you. So you deal with strange people. So whenever I see a person, I first see, okay, what kind of animal am I dealing with? And then I'm careful with them, friendly with them, gentle with them.
Then you watch an episode of Caesar Milan on how to handle that particular breed, and you take it from there. But the puritanical, what is the right word? The Victorian Puritans, those type of people who will, when you question sexuality of gods, or when you look drugs, Soma, I've read some articles of yours on, Bhang, Soma, these kind of things. You talk about how actually most of your talking, if I'm wrong, please tell me, is you show universality of everything. That you stop judging literally, because we've got this as well in the spiritual texts as well as in material world. That kind of thought is very difficult for a Puritan to take. If we take sex or drugs, for example.
They are not Puritans. See, that word Puritan is wrong, that they are pure, because in their heads, not having sex is pure. Really, they're sad because they've never had sex.
Losers. Not having sex.
Your life, and you are telling how others should have sex. You realize how tragic it is. तू कभी sex नहीं किया है और तू बोल रहा है मेरे को कैसे sex करना चाहिए.
Exactly.
I'm like, are you? Like, anyway, there are foolish people, but I find them very amusing. And thousands of people believe that they are smart people because they've not had sex. I'm like, really? I mean, it's very tragic that they're denying a very natural bodily function, excretory fluid. And as a medical doctor, it's just excretory fluid. If you don't throw it out, somebody else will throw it out. And it is not a big deal. Nature doesn't care for your semen so much as you do.
So preserving is a waste of everybody's time, including your own.
And what are you doing? I mean, you're not calmed down.
Baba, they're not attractive enough. They're not getting dates, yaar. Tinder is not working. Wi-Fi problem. I don't know.
There is something called pornography. You can watch it on television.
No, you're telling me? Sir, that's my subject. One day you'll interview me on that. Yeah.
So, देखो, भगवान ने तुमको हाथ दिए हैं, तो तुम्हें दुख की कोई आवश्यकता नहीं है. You have got hands, so you really don't need companion.
Okay, stop it. We figured it out. It sounded nice in Hindi. It sounds terrible in translation. I have to tell you. Language bhi ek cheez hai, bhai. No. So reading articles over the years and all, finding the fact that you're almost like a Westerner or a neutral from outside, because you're able to enjoy whatever you're talking about without A, being judgmental, and B, by looking at it from different perspectives. So we do, which I think is the best writers. That's what they do. Otherwise, what's the point of reading something you just sort of know yourself? So but in our country, where we are right now, I hate to go back to this point all the time. Do you now have to be a little more careful? Is it? Do you have to be a little wary when you take on sexuality, alcohol, drugs, unorthodox thought, certain things that you will talk about which are not done in, I won't use the word puritanical society, but in the so-called orthodox society?
I'm not challenging anyone. I'm just sharing what I'm reading. They are feeling challenged. I don't challenge anyone because nobody's that important.
But if they talk to you backstage after your show, and I'm sure somebody engages with you in a civilized way, then how do you? Yeah.
Are they good looking?
Yeah. Okay.
Step one: if they're good looking, then I'm not engage and waste my time with them because I'm also shallow.
Fair enough.
Second, I check if they're interested. They're smart people. Then I will tell them. Then I can have a good conversation because stupidity can be reduced, smartness can be increased.
Yeah.
And third, are they paying me money?
Baba, you're like the brother I've always wanted. You're saying all the right things. Come home. Let's eat lunch.
These three things 90% of the people don't have. They're not good looking. They're not smart. They're not rich. I don't engage with them.
Fair enough. Listen, Devdutt, as you very well know, you've done 50 books, which is not a joke. Huh? Is it true? Above 50 books and 1,400 columns.
Yeah. So I've been writing for the last almost 20 years. Every week I write 1 or 2 columns. So you can do your math. And then I'm very organized. So my books are written over time. And nobody has done work on this, right? Most people, when they say mythology, they're really writing fiction. They're writing fiction books. They're writing stories. Ramayana story, I will tell my style. I'll make Sita fight. I'll make Ravan good. I will make Duryodhan bad. They become storytellers. I'm not interested in that. That's one part of mythology. I'm really interested in decoding. So I'm writing on the Vedas, on the Purans, on the Quran. I'm writing on the Bible. I'm writing on Japanese mythology, Egyptian mythology. And I'm writing, and there's so much to write because most of these books were written mostly by Western scholars. And I see the problem in their scholarship. major problems in their scholarship because when I began, I thought they were the great scholars. They are teaching me so many things. But as time progressed, I realized, hey, there is flaw in their understanding. They are not understanding Egyptian very well. So I write because it clears my head. And as I'm clearing my head, that turns into lectures. My book articles turn into books. And I do it in like a factory. So it's like, I love doing these things. Enjoy it thoroughly. So it's just the publishers are like, you're cannibalizing your own market because now I have a whole bookshop. If you go to a bookshop, there'll be Devendra Patnaik shelf. So they are like, "Arey, bikega, kaise bikega," and all that kind of things.
That's true, but I can see their point. But all these different cultures that you read and get influenced by. So in your book, is there a hierarchy? Do you favor one over the other? Controversial question, but fair.
No, the market decides everything. Now, if I write a book in Greek mythology, which I have, it doesn't sell as much as a book I'll write on Ramayana or Mahabharata. It's as simple as that. Even if I write the Vedas, people will say we're interested in the Vedas, but they actually were interested. A Shiva book gets more popularity. So it depends on the market needs. And so you keep writing different kinds. Then there's children books, which are for children. And then there are Hindi books and Marathi books. So language. So I just see how the market is moving. And I work with, okay, this is perhaps they'll be interested in. Some people are interested in understanding death rituals. Now, if I write a book on death rituals, I will, but I know that it won't sell so much because nobody wants to read about death.
Or maybe they will. During COVID, we've all come close. So yeah.
So you don't want to deal with it, right? Most people want to believe they're immortal. And, nobody wants to make a will. If you ask, go to a finance conference and you ask people, we all believe in wealth management. I ask them question, how many of you all have made a will? And like 10% of people will raise their hands. The rest of you all are immortal. And then they'll all smile sheepishly.
But in India, it's also superstition, isn't it? That once you make the will, you're giving yourself a death sentence. A lot of people think like that.
So that's why there's a market, right? Wherever there are stupid people, there is a market.
All right. Listen, so lots of different shows. You've also done lots of TED Talks. But since we're running out of time, let's focus quickly on Epic TV and Business Sutra on CNBC TV. So look at the things you've done. Okay, one you've written, then you've started talking to audiences, and in that talking, it's a bit of inspiration, motivation, as well as knowledge. So it's not just me going and freewheeling. Then you've got a different style, which is talking to a television audience. So tell us a little bit about that, and how do you not get bored of doing the same thing? Like if I have to do the same thing 3 times in a row, I'm like, that's why my marriage is in trouble.
No, I think I'm also evolving every day. The ideas are changing. The thoughts are changing over time. They're refining and refining. So I did Business Sutra with Menaka Doshi over 10 years ago.
She was in college with me, a very pretty girl. Hi, Menaka, wherever you are. Maybe she's married. Better be careful, huh?
So she just came to my office and we were just chatting and she said, can we do the show? And I said, I have these ideas. And we did it, and we didn't expect it to be a hit. It was a super hit. Even now, WhatsApp forwards go with those videos. And because that time the idea was just framing itself. It was in early days when I was putting my...
but you have to be more careful when you enter TV realm because now you're talking to so many more people and...
I'm absorbed in my subject. So
you don't censor yourself.
No, I don't. I explain what I'm always clarifying. This is my understanding. It could be wrong. But since I've read more books than you, please grant me that. But I am never saying this is the truth. That is my first line. I don't believe in absolute truths. I'm not telling you what the gods have told you. I'm not telling you what the sages have told you. I'm saying I have read their work. I have understood this and I'm sharing it with you. And I follow a very structural approach, which is not done by many people in India. I follow something called structuralism, which is very funnily not done by Indians at all, although Indian philosophy lends itself to structuralism. So I did that. And for Epic TV, it was in Hindi, which was a little bit of a challenge because now, of course, I'm very fluent in Hindi. So I take every challenge as an opportunity to learn something new. So how to talk to TV, so how do you move your face, how do you talk to the camera, how do you imagine there's an audience in front of you and chat.
How not to wear pants because they shoot you only from here. There's so many interesting things, yeah.
And how the makeup is done, how they want you to move your face. So I found that exciting because I was good at my subject. I didn't need to prepare and it was always extempore. And from college days, I've been an extempore speaker. But this was different, talking to camera in Hindi and talking in perfect Hindi and explaining complicated ideas in Hindi, making it simple. So that was Epic TV. Epic TV allowed me, the Devlok show allowed me to, and I again never thought people would watch it. We never marketed it. And then suddenly I'm walking on the road and people are saying, Devdutt ji, aap hai. And they try to use these very G. The moment they use the word, and I'm like,
I think with you, it's more because you seem to have descended from the scriptures. Just think of the subconscious level of the thinking here. It's like, oh, uska kuch connection hai God ke saath because he's come from there. His thoughts are like that. So G is very important when they talk to you.
We are surrounded by people who have always made the subject exotic. And suddenly I am a person who doesn't want to make it exotic. I'm saying it deals with human issues. It deals with jealousy, anger, greed, unhappiness.
Put it on a pedestal and then you keep it away from you. You know, when you do that, you put like a wall between yourself and saying reverence and all that, which is up to a point fair enough. But it goes because
brand building. That's just brand.
Yeah, and no one thinks then, because it's inflexible, the thought process. You can't think about it in any other way. This is it. It's in gold.
And they are not happy people, because I know these people privately. I know a lot of the Gurujis privately. I know how unhappy they are.
Do they really believe what they say, or is it all part of a...
Now it's a performance.
It is a performance, yeah.
And what happened is they all thought that this will give them the kind of luxury. They don't realize that when you become a celebrity, you become trapped.
Yeah, in that what people want.
In a bubble, you can't live your normal life. Take a walk, go to a eat some pani puri on the road.
Nightclub and have a drink. Oh, no, that's against the culture. Sorry. Pani puri.
They want to have an affair. They can't do it secretly.
Who doesn't want to have an affair, Devdutt Patnaik? This is
but
something...
I can.
Yeah. Okay. All right, listen, we're going to segue into the break now and then come back and take questions, because obviously your subject is such that everybody... This must irritate you, all the time, people asking you questions, clarifications. Since
answer. I'm very happy not answering. I said,
because it's your profession, you shouldn't answer.
I just tell them 199 rupees penguin, 299 rupees HarperCollins.
Very nice.
I'm
excellent.
Very comfortable. People think I owe them answers. I don't owe them anything. So it's okay. If you don't know, it's fine. If you die without knowledge, it's perfectly fine. It's okay.
Okay. All right. One last thing as we go to break. So has any political figure ever spoken to you and said, Devdutt, we need you to campaign, that kind of thing?
Well, a lot of political leaders are happy with my work. They meet me and all that, but no, I don't think so. I think they have seen how I can be
both ways, so they don't want to take a chance.
Yeah, and they also believe that no, आप बहुत ऊंची बातें करते हो, politics में ये सब नहीं चलता है. So they themselves have very bad self-image. Most of the politicians have very bad self-image. And when I meet them, I feel very sad for them. They genuinely believe हम तो नाली के काम करते हैं, हम तो गटर वाले हैं. And I'm like, okay, fine, that's your life. That's your choice.
Wow, that's amazing. So the self-esteem is actually not that big.
No, I have not yet met a rich and powerful man with high self-esteem who is happy and confident about his life. They're very scared, terrified. It's sad. Normally you think when you have money, you'll be happy, and when you have power, it makes your life comfortable, definitely. But comfort is something else, and happiness is something else. And we should distinguish between comfort and just happiness.
Yes. Comfort is not having piles. Happiness is having piles, but being able to treat it with laser technology. I'm just trying to think of a right, because I don't have mythological power, but I have this power. So we'll take a break. We'll come back in a few seconds with Silvery and lots of questions with Devdutt Patnaik. No relation to the Chief Minister or the illustrious family of Orissa. Are you? No relation. Just now. Taking a break.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Would like to thank our sponsors on the network this week. Syed, thank you so much for sticking with us. On the Paisa Vaisa podcast, Anupam was joined by Sujata Alawat, who spoke about women's credit behavior and about improving credit scores for better financial health. Gauri Devi Dayal was joined by Barkha Dutt on This Round is on Me. She shared her thoughts on present-day media and journalism, and some of her experiences from the days of her reporting. On The Habit Coach, Ashton talked about how meditation is like getting engrossed and absorbed into an activity where you are free of other thoughts and focus on just one thing. On Agra Station Adulthood, Ritasha and Ayushi were joined by Supriya and Priyanka Joshi for an honest and heartfelt conversation about life as a woman in the 2020s. On the Filter Coffee podcast this week, Karthik invited Bala Srinivas, who has been an active mentor in the startup scene in India, and they discussed its various aspects from funding to government support. Our traveling professor Siddharth talks about this academic document called Statement of Purpose and helps us understand its concept and shares and some tips on how to draft it well. And with that, let me get you back to your show.
Follow me at Instagram and Twitter on Bored Brocha. I'm so bored, I need your help. I need your love. I need your touch. Okay, just follow me. Silverman, come on.
Hello, hi, good morning, everyone. How's it going?
Devdutt, this is Silvery. He's crazy about mythology. He only knows Ram, Sita, Lakshman. Then his work is done. Knows nothing more. Are you into mythology?
Actually, as a kid, I used to read many different versions or like illustrated
Amar
versions
Chitrakatha.
of. I've read that also, Amar Chitrakatha of the Ramayana and Mahabharata. I've read like multiple versions, but again, they're like very much shorter versions, not the actual original. Yeah.
But that's a good idea, I would think, for epic books to have shorter versions, just to have people get interested in it.
Get the
Devdutt,
gist.
are you okay with abridged versions of all this?
No, I read a lot of abridged versions. I like Ramayana in 5 sentences. It's great pressy writing.
5 sentences? I could have saved so much time, boy. What the hell? All right, let's go for the first one.
Yes. Just a quick thing before we get to the questions. Please like the stream, guys, if you're watching this. It really helps the YouTube algorithms. Please follow us on the podcasting apps in case you missed this live stream. So that'll be great. Thank you so much. The first question comes in from Kashin Shetty. He says, hello, DP and CB, your initials. What if the coronavirus had spread during the Vedic times? What would it be called? How would it be written? And which god would have saved us from his wrath? It's a fun question.
Devdutt, very important question. Any answers?
I think it would be called Mukut because Corona means the crown. And so it would be called what? Mukut Kitanu. Corona germ or something like that. So I think that's what it would be called. And gods in India don't save. Gods are not saviors in India.
Give and take.
Give and take. तो तू क्या देगा? फिर मैं कुछ दूंगा तुमको. So that would always be the case. So I guess
250 rupee donation plus GST.
शायद हम आपको बचाने आएंगे because फल की चिंता मत करो. There are no guarantees.
Okay, Mr. Shetty, I hope that answers question number 1. He's a regular listener, by the way. I think we should have a special podcast with 4 or 5 of the regulars.
Yeah,
at some point. Yeah.
It'll be Kashin, Harvesh, and the rest. Next one comes in from Nirav Shah. He says, what's the opinion of Shri Baba Sahib Ambedkar's perspective on Gita about Lord Krishna? And the Abrahamic religions talk of pandemic/plague in its times. Anything mentioned in Vedas or other epics about this? Or pandemics and plagues?
Okay, 2 questions. Devdutt ji?
So every political leader has found his political viewpoint in religious scriptures. When Gandhi reads the Gita, he gets his Gandhian ideas. When Lokmanya Tilak read the Gita, he found his own radical ideas. When Ambedkar read the Gita, it reaffirmed that it is a Brahminical document. So many a times, political leaders read what they want to read in religious scriptures, like you and I.
Is it a Brahminical document before you answer the second one? It's a fair what criticism?
Not really. It's not it's a document. We have made it Brahminical. Because there are verses which are written, so many verses, you can cherry pick things in these books. These are not written by one person, they're written over thousands of years. And there are good verses and there are bad.
But there is a caste system. Manu, Smriti and all that.
Yes, patriarchy is there in every part of the world. Homophobia is there in every part of the world. So it's like saying Jesus supports homosexuals or he's homophobic.
No idea. What's the answer to that?
Exactly. So you can find answers both ways. If you're asked,
I suppose it would be like, Father, forgive them. So it's all good.
No, it's, when you read the Quran, you find it, are they supporting homosexuals? Are they against homosexuals? So every can be, exactly. So what has happened in India is that we are full of self-hatred. And we look at our scriptures only from a negative or a positive point. It's not as simple as that. There are different verses.
But is it not fair to say the scheduled caste person of India has suffered because of the way you interpret so-called hierarchies?
In every society, a group of people suffer. Every society. Homosexuals have been invisibilized for thousands of years. Which society has supported homosexuals? Do Dalits support homosexuals?
Fashion industry.
No, not.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I apologize.
So, when I go to a Dalit community, do you see a gay Dalit person getting the same different respect in a Brahmin Dalit?
Fair enough. So you're saying in each world there's a lower rank.
Properly in a Dalit community and the Brahmin community, they're treated differently. Women are treated the same across caste. So it depends on how you slice and dice a story. And, it's like the British will tell the Nazis were bad, but the British will never say that the British Empire was bad. Right. So we always want to be the victims. We don't see we ourselves are villains.
So don't blame the scriptures. It's our translation in our little world, each little world.
Every society, it's like, the Native American people will talk about how the white people came and destroyed the Native American culture, but they will never talk about how the tribes used to kill each other. If you tell about how Native American tribes killed each other, how the Incas and Aztecs, and they would fight.
Internecine wars, yeah.
Wo mat bolo. You tell bad things about white people. So we live in a society where you become, all academicians I'm shocked, they behave like activists. Academia and activism is not the same. I'm an academia. So when I read about the caste system, I see the negative things. I definitely see how dark and horrifying it is. But I also ask, why did it emerge? How did it emerge? How did it transform? So, for example, if the Nazis had not come into the world, would the British Empire had come to an end? The British were ruling us. Ask this one question: if Hitler had not existed and done those horrible things, would the British Empire voluntarily give up India? This was a cash cow. India was giving them all the money. And if Hitler had not come, but we don't see history like that. We don't realize how things influence each other.
Today, the British regret leaving India only because of the IPL. Look at the money they'd have made. Really.
They only left India where the balance of payment was no longer in their favor. That's the economic reason they left India. Or for that matter, when we talk about caste system, I always tell, are you saying a Brahmin woman was treated nicely or a Dalit woman was treated nicely? Let's look at it from the lens of gender. Let's look at it from the lens of sexuality. Are we saying there are certain castes where gay people are treated nicely, lesbians are treated nicely, transgender people are treated nicely? I have not seen a single caste which has come out and said we support gay people. I have not seen a single caste saying that we support gay marriage.
So it's all relative is what you're saying. Somewhere down, there's an oppressed person in any small fragment of society.
Every society.
In my house, it's me. वो मैं हूँ, sir. I get the thappads every day. Silvery will vouch for that. Silvery,
yes,
it's a very interesting point. I've never looked at it that way. We look at it black and white, caste system, horrible, ill treatment of man. He looks at things from a very different way. I don't know what the right description is, but he's able to see that there is no good or bad. It's almost like Shakespeare's line, there's nothing such as good or bad, but thinking makes it so. It's like we're just looking at things from different angles and perspectives, and then we realize that relatively, this is bad, but this is also bad in their own society. Oops, ouch. Yeah. Is it too profound for Silvery? He's getting angry.
No, I agree. I understand. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. For Indians, it's very important to listen to him sometimes. I'm making you I won't say minister, I'll just say the leader of the country.
What happens is when you are studying, you want to feel good about yourself. And nowadays, to feel good about yourself, you have to call yourself a victim. And when you feel you're a victim, then you feel, the whole world is against me. And that's what politicians do, right? They will say, Desh ko khatra hai, dharm ko khatra hai, aapko khatra hai, aapke culture ko khatra hai. In the same way, you also keep saying that everybody is against me, the whole world is oppressing me. And that is really nurturing.
But Devdutt, that's not to take away from Ambedkar. I'm a huge fan of the guy. Honestly, to where he comes from, goes to America, comes back, speaks openly. It frees the minds of a lot of people. In that sense, it's not to say that he wasn't from an oppressed background and that he didn't suffer.
I'm very careful of putting someone on a pedestal. I will never put anyone on a pedestal. Then you stop being scientific. Then you are gone into politics. As an academician, Gandhi also, I will not put him on a pedestal. I will not insult Hitler. I will not praise Gandhi. I will study both of them and understand what is strong, weak, good, bad. I'll understand their context. I want to learn from both of them. And I don't think one is better than the other. The moment you start using better, worse, unless it's in a context and explain the context in which they're good or bad. Like from a Jewish point of view, Hitler is horrifying. But from a non-vegetarian point of view, or a man who likes to have sex, Gandhi would be terrifying. He would tell you can't eat non-vegetarian food, you can't have sex, homosexuals are evil, and you should clean your own clothes and everything you should do. So Gandhi has his own views of things which are, Godse. Suddenly people love Godse. I'm like, he killed someone. Yes, you have to see the context and understand it, but you can't take away that action. So this hero, making someone a hero is a very dangerous thing. When your stomach is upset, khichdi is nice. When your stomach is wonderful, you can eat a biryani. But if your stomach is upset, if you eat a biryani, you are an idiot. So you have to understand the context.
What a paradox. You're basically a man who studies hierarchies in societies across the world, literally, and yet you're very egalitarian in your thought.
Yeah, because you see the wheel, in our great flag, there is something called a wheel. And we forget a wheel is dynamic. जो ऊपर होता है वो नीचे आता है. जो नीचे होता है वो ऊपर आता है.
Circular
dynamic.
nature.
It is not static.
Lion King.
Lion King. And only problem in Lion King is that he's in, there is no kings in the jungle actually. We humans have decided that he's a king.
And the kings are executed very quickly because of age. Well, we'll leave that for another day. Let's get a couple more questions in. Devdutt talks too much, Silvery. You have to keep talking. Otherwise, the answer will take 15 minutes. As interesting and exciting as it is.
The next one comes in from Deepak Kumar Sahu. He says, is the story of Jaya Vijaya from Bhagavad Purana a criticism of the victor-loser paradigm of Greeks by Hindu philosophers? And how have Hindus responded to Greek myths?
How have Hindu scholars responded? I mean, yeah, okay.
So Greek myths are based on one life. So you live only once, and the Greeks said, if you live once, you have to live a great life. You have to be extraordinary. Therefore, hero is a concept which comes to us from Greek mythology. Indian mythology is based on rebirth. So you are carrying baggage.
So your 7th life is more important.
Second life could be your 99th life.
Yeah.
So you're carrying baggage from previous lives. So you cannot be judged based on what you are doing now. I have to see everything behind you. It's like somebody commits a crime. Let's say somebody commits a crime. You say, "Arey, kaun se family se aaya? Kaise aaya hai? What childhood did he have?" When you psychoanalyze him. So Indians, in a way, were always saying that don't look at things as they appear. See what's happening behind. So therefore, Indian thought is very different from.
So we have more perspective.
We have too many perspectives, which is Anekantavad in Jainism. There are many points of view.
What would you believe? Or you don't believe in anything being correct or incorrect?
I believe in context, in the situation. There is decisions in this context. It is not universally right. So, for example, when you say, I don't believe in violence, that's a very nice sentence. Then I say, stop eating, because every act of
killing,
violence, every trees are going to be cut, animals are going to be cut, otherwise you can't be fed. So you can't make a statement like violence is bad. So you have to understand the context in which, when you say, I don't believe in murder, but you send armies to kill terrorists, that is also murder. Just because you call them terrorists doesn't mean it is not murder. I had to once talk to an army person, and we were talking, and he said, sir, humko to marna padta hai and all that. I said, see, that's your job. You are wearing the soldier's uniform. You have to follow your orders, and you are going to cut their throat. Because they do things which they have to do. I said, but don't forget, he is also a human being. At the end of the day, even if he's the worst person on earth, who has done the worst crimes on earth, at the end of the day, he's a human being.
So Devdutt Patnaik doesn't support the death sentence for the rarest of rare.
I support it and don't support it. I mean,
hey.
ऐसा नहीं होता है ना life में.
I think if we don't pay money, Silvery, we have to get double answer. If we pay money, we'll get the single answer. Just keep that in mind for the next time. Fair enough. Yes. Can we get one or two more?
Yes, sure. Next one comes in from Salman Heather. He says, what are apsaras? Came across a conversation on alleged 72 virgins. A little research, and I found that these things were incorporated in the 9th century when Muslims witnessed church artwork on walls. So do you have anything about this?
Possible.
It's very interesting. A man is asking this question.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying the fact that it has a Muslim name. I'm not sure it is, because nowadays in social media, I think.
Yeah. And Salman is a fairly popular name. Yeah. Go on.
And third point is that he's asking about apsaras. Apsaras are basically free women who choose lovers and abandon them if they want to.
I want an apsara. Where will I get an apsara?
Rigved, the first apsara who appears, is leaving a boyfriend and saying, I'm bored of you. And saying that I don't like you anymore. I'm bored. मैं भाग गई. अभी मैं छोड़ रही हूँ. So
this is the truth.
Huh?
This is the absolute truth.
Yeah, but you see, people always think the apsara comes to them, but the apsara can also reject you.
Right.
That is the horror of life. Third, we're talking about the whole 72 virgin things, which the Western press has used to make fun of Muslims.
Correct.
And now you have got a question saying that the Muslims have added it looking at Christian
from the church.
So, यहाँ पे कितने politics है यहाँ पे कहानी में. The fact is, men, you have to motivate people to do things. And one of the motivation is in paradise, you will get women.
Sex, yeah.
In paradise, you will get sex. In what you don't get in this life, you will get in the next life. These are all
sex. Yeah.
the way, and the problem is in the Catholic Church saw sex as evil. So their heaven had no sex. While in Islam.
So hell was more fun there. Technically, I'm just thinking, can I go down again?
Right. So imagine you'll go to heaven and perhaps not have sex. While the Muslims were telling that, when you go to heaven, you will have great sex. And therefore, there was this great war happening between the Christians and Muslims during the Crusades. But really, we don't.
I would like to talk to the marketing person in the Catholic Church. I'm a little, because, as a young man, I'm just thinking, that's a huge issue. What do you say, Silvery?
Yeah.
And now you know why secularism emerged in the Christian world. Because they were like, we can't have a heaven without...
this is not working. Yeah.
And the thing is, we don't ask about what about female women going to heaven? Will there be 72 young men satisfying them?
Why young men? What's wrong with the older men?
That's also true.
And here we go again.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Because I have now noticed that lots of young people like old men and women. And I've realized that this intergenerational thing is big. Cougars are very popular.
What's the male cougar called?
Uncle.
Creepy old uncle. Kunal Vijayakar. Kunal Vijayakar.
Sugar daddy.
Oh, shit.
So sorry. We never talk about a heaven where there are 72 men awaiting a woman. We only talk about 72 women awaiting men. So these are the questions. Questions like this make me think in this way. This is how I think. I'm just sharing how I will approach a question. I don't give a single answer, but I see who is asking the question. Why is he asking the question? What is the structure of the question? What is the psychology of the question? What does it reveal about politics? Why is it added? Why is the Christian, Muslim, Vedic, all this is coming? And where are the women? Why are women always seen as objects?
And beyond religion, what is the motivation? Because there's always a motivation to putting something out.
Comes in, sexuality comes in, politics comes in, power comes in, economics comes in, everything.
Did any religion allow homosexuality in medieval times or years before? Was there any religion that was okay with it?
Greeks were comfortable with man-boy love.
Yeah.
So the Greek king, but man-boy love is not necessarily homosexual.
Like Alexander and Hephaestion, but they were same age. Yeah.
And the whole Spartan army.
Yeah, they were all bisexual, weren't they?
Well, they were man-boy love. They are not really man-man love. It is a generational thing. Older men and younger boys.
They went with both genders, so that makes them bisexual.
Well, these words have very strong scientific meaning.
My God, Devdutt, you're like my dad. You won't give me a straight answer about anything. No pun intended. Jesus. I mean, not Jesus. I mean, you know what I mean. End this podcast before it becomes blasphemy. Yeah. Right. Do we have one more quick one?
Yeah, we have a couple more. Sorry. A lot of people have said a lot of great ones. So,
okay.
Next one comes in again. Okay, there's one more from Salman Haidar. He says, what's up with this sudden rise of aggressive Hinduism? A hodgepodge of politics, grievances, and paranoia. Please do psychoanalysis on the crisis of masculinity in these right-wingers.
Well, everything goes through these, when you eat khatta, you want to eat meetha. When, our palate. So what has happened is there is a whole bunch of people who feel Hinduism has been taken for granted. And there are good reasons for it. There are logically lots of reasons for it. During the freedom struggle, when Hinduism was being analyzed, it was analyzed using a Marxist framework. And Hinduism, so an average Hindu globally would, whenever you go abroad and you'll say, I'm a Hindu, you don't tell you're a Hindu because people say, oh, you're idol worshippers. So you are feeling awkward. Oh, you all worship cows. You feel awkward. Oh, you are casteist. You feel awkward. So you have always been on the defensive. So this new Hinduism which is emerging is highly offensive. And they're going like they become bullies. So it's like yesterday's kids who were like getting bullied have decided, I will bully you back. So that's what you're seeing today. And around the world, you can't say that you're a Hindu without being finger pointed at. And it's the way it is. Because remember, idol worship across the world would be saying is idolatry. Worshipping idol was wrong. And Hindus worship idols. We carry idols. So people were always awkward. You worship cows. So now it's hum cow ko puja karenge. So now it is in your face. I will worship. I will worship the cow. I will eat cow dung. I will dance with the Gaumutra. So it is like you mocked me, I will do it 10 times more. So you were always, Hinduism is equated with caste system. And without understanding the complexity of the caste system, I study the caste system a lot. And people often confuse caste with untouchability. And the only way you have to be in this guilt mode that, oh, I'm so sorry. But Indians are not like white people, right? White people enjoy being guilty because for 1,000 years you went to the church and said,
Can't say that.
we will never feel guilty. We will never apologize. So what we do now, we've turned into bullies. So we have seen this dark.
So the way the Australian settlers spent the last 20 years trying to apologize to the Aboriginals for the genocide, etc.
Kabhi nahi.
Nahi. Never.
Indians will never apologize. We don't have a culture of apology.
But if you bump into an Indian, he touches your chest and says, no, sorry. I mean, we had that apology culture.
Sorry, he's saying,
bad karma nahi ho jaye.
तुम्हारे अंदर भगवान को मैंने छुआ है, तुम्हें नहीं छुआ है. Apologizing to the God inside you. Not
it's always andar ki baat hai. I get it. Yeah.
It's not apologizing. And Indians, for various reasons, socio-cultural, not just cultural.
Hey, Silvery, come on. What do you think of Devdutt? Do you think he's a little cynical about human beings or not?
I mean, he's always giving two answers. Everything has two answers. There's never one answer.
If you want one answer, go to Sadhguru.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, sorry. Apologize. Oof. But he likes golf. Devdutt, what are your hobbies?
Without a single doubt, he'll tell you exactly what you want to do because you can't take a decision. I genuinely believe my readers and listeners can take decisions for themselves.
Yeah. The teacher doesn't teach you. He just shows you how to think. Mr. Silvery.
Yes. The next one comes in from Rushikesh Shinde. He says, love the podcast, Cyrus, despite our difference in political stance. Okay, wow. He says, Devdutt, I've seen so many critics who try to challenge you for anything you say. How do you handle this?
Okay, before he answers, I want to just tell the gentleman, I don't see myself as left or liberal or whatever they think I am. I see myself as centrist, and we'll have the discussion in another day. Devdutt, sorry, now the answer.
So when people challenge me, I'm like, it's okay. They're entitled to their view, and I'm entitled not to engage with them. They're too boring.
That's fair enough. You don't want to stoke the flames.
Most people who try to criticize me have not read as much as I have.
It's also an emotive reaction, Devdutt, which I think bores you after some time because you're always talking from a higher sort of frame, and then you're getting into a person who's thinking with his heart and how without thinking. Actually, the paradox is he doesn't think; he just gets emotionally upset. Aapne kya kaha? Ye kaisa ho sakta? Ye for homosexuality, for example, is such a no for certain people. They just don't want it in the book. When the fact of the matter is, 10% of the population will be gay forever. That's the way it is.
People genuinely believe that they are so important that people have to engage with them. It's very important for people to realize that they are not so important in the world, and nobody wants to really engage with them. And they want their kicks by me engaging with them. So, really in life, nobody is obliged to engage with you. And that realization is very hard to handle in social media and everything. People think that I have put a tweet, people have to respond to it. No, nobody is interested in you. It's tough that your wife or husband is interested in you, and that's a great achievement. Even your children are not interested in you. I think
not at all.
Realization is very heartbreaking.
Yeah, my kids only say things like move out of the way of the TV and stop talking. I'm online. So yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
So, I never bother with critics. I just do what I do. I enjoy doing what I do. I criticize myself a lot. I challenge my own thoughts a lot. And I ask myself, why do I think so? That I'm very comfortable challenging.
I think if they have proper discourse with you, at the right place and time, I'm sure you'll engage. It's just that when they come aggressively and emotional and make stupid comments, within 5 seconds you've lost interest, and that's acceptable.
Yeah, see, it's always, it's like a physics professor being challenged by someone who only understands chemistry. The physics professor says, "Pehle pad na physics, fir baat karte." So
it's still very too much metaphors and all that. No?
Got it.
मैं translate करते बाद में. जाने दो.
Cool. Next one comes in from Srinivas Kulkarni. He says, big fan, read most of your books, got inspired, and did a talk on yesterday's technology is equal to today's mythology. Do you think this thought is rational? Example, nuclear tech in Mahabharata like Pushpak, etc., etc.
No.
Okay, easy answer.
But just let's devil's advocate for a second. There are growing up, Amar Chitra Kathas.
That's the one answer Mr. Devdutt has given the exact answer to.
You don't happy when I give a clear answer.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying.
I gave a very clear Sadhguru answer, and you're like, no.
But you gave.
Give me a complicated answer.
But there is a lot of references of strange fire. What is it? Ammunition and arsenal which breathes fire and throws things. It is in a sense ahead of its time. That kind of which perhaps was nothing like that was there.
When we were children, we used to watch Star Trek. And we used to see all those phones in which the face would...
the phasers and lasers and all that.
Call it science fiction. But it was fiction, no, at that time. You can't say in the 1970s they had a smartphone, but they didn't tell us about it. It was actually known by Gene Roddenberry. And now we have discovered it. Because America already had it. No. It was...
But the primitive flamethrower does become the rocket launcher. The intercontinental ballistic missile comes. I mean, you can see the prototype. I mean, I'm just saying there is a little connect.
See, in the ancient times, we used to believe in love potions. कि ऐसे ये दारू पीने से आज हम लोग दारू invent किया है. So when you drink, you fall in love. So
or out of love.
Out of love.
Depends on which poet you're following.
Basically, it comes from a desire. We have low self-esteem. And therefore, in order to prop up our self-esteem, we keep saying our ancients knew things that the West did not. Because samne wale, when you go to the Gora, you feel intimidated because all the scientific achievements have come from there. And you are feeling so small in front of him कि देख मेरे पूर्वज तुम्हारे पहले बनाया था. But the fact
हवाई जहाज अपना ही invention है.
We don't want to accept the scientific revolution came from Europe in the 14th and 15th century for a whole set of reasons, not for any other reason. Not that scientific thinking was not there in India.
But aircrafts were invented in India well before Wright brothers and all that. We were that's true. Look at Air India. It's much older than any of the other planes. I mean, just take a look. So he's not even partaking anymore. He's with drunkards. It's like, okay, I'm leaving the room. All right. Listen, we've nearly done. Is there one more before we release?
Sure. There's one. Again, this one comes in from Rushikesh Shinde. He says, talking about Mahabharat, it was in the news that Amir Khan had a very ambitious project which got shelved, stating that the time doesn't feel right. Do you think that there's pressure on you artists?
Not for me. So I write what I want to write. If they want to ban it, they're okay to ban it because then it'll sell internationally a lot.
And in black.
So ban karne se aur brand badhta hai. I'm worried why they're not banning me till now. So.
Nice.
But I'm sure if they ban you, you'll just reinvent yourself in Nicaragua or Sweden or something and make even more money with more fanfare, no hostility.
I have earned enough, so I'm okay. Now I can do whatever I want. So, mera ho gaya. If they tell me shut shop, I'll shut shop also. Who is going to lose?
Final question. What is the mask behind you, which I can't see properly, but it's there, the green mask?
This green mask is an Odia from Odisha. It is the Sri Ram.
That's Sri Ram, because the Ramayana is different. Is it not? A little bit?
In different parts of India, Ram is painted in different colors. People don't know. Now they only see the six-pack ab poster.
But the ending of the Ramayana in Oriya is different?
No.
It's the same.
In Odisha, so there are different Ramayans and different, but the story broadly remains the same. Doesn't change dramatically. 90% of the story remains the same across India. But
in Odisha, it ends with the Patnaik family taking over Ayodhya and etc. etc. I'm just.
In Odisha, you focus on Jagannath. That's all that matters. Nothing else matters. All the other states don't matter. All the other temples don't matter. All that matters is Puri Jagannath. That's all that matters in Odisha. We don't realize.
Jagannath? I'm worried he's going to say the famous phrase that we teenage boys would use all the time. Which ends with the phrase. But don't do that, Silvery. Don't lower our show.
You are thinking of.
No, don't say it. On that beautiful note, let's end the show. Devdutt, always a pleasure. Thank you. I hope you come on again because I think AMS could go on forever with you. Just sitting there and deciding to give them an answer. And thank you for that one no about the interballistic missiles. Cheers, guys. See you. Bye, everyone. See you. Bye-bye. Okay, catch us on any of the podcasting apps, please. We beg you. We need you. Send us your questions on Twitter on Cyrus Says In. Or you can email us, even if you're not female, on whatcyrussays@gmail.com.
Feeling overwhelmed, anxious, struggling with too many obstacles, don't know where your life is headed? Well, if you are dealing with one or all of these, tune into the Positively Unlimited podcast because in each episode, I share a life lesson, a life hack, a pro tip that can help you get your life back on track. All episodes are available on the IVM website, IVM Podcast app, or wherever it is that you get your podcast from.
पेश खिदमत है आपकी शान में हमारे अंजुमन से. Hi, I am Sadaf.
And I'm Arshit. खाने का इतिहास, इकोनॉमिक्स, पॉलिसी, साइकोलॉजी सब है मेन्यू पर.
Only on the Nankali podcast every Wednesday. सिर्फ IVM Podcast ऐप या वेबसाइट पर या फिर जहां से भी आप अपने पॉडकास्ट सुनते हो.